see her rolling up, Uber black Cadillac, high heel boots and a sexy body full of tats. Baby's bad, oh baby's hella bad. After her there ain't no coming back. Wanna take a run at that. I think she's feeling me, turn it up a few degrees. My imagination of her body gets the best of me. Oh gosh, she's such a tease, bitten lips, bruised knees. I'm addicted to her, need her touching me, cause she got a bad little waist. And we tearing down this place, off the liquor that we chase. Casamigos to the face, baby I don't need no space. Coming closer for a taste, and I'll show you how I make everything just fade away. Cause she's like sex, drugs, cocaine, body so insane. Jealous of the clothing that she wears up on that tight frame. All game, no shame.
What's going on, everybody? Happy Wednesday. Welcome to another live stream. Mr. Craig, how are you, sir?
I am epic. How you doing?
Good. So we are honored to have Mr. Craig Johnson from Wild Ass. It's good to have you, sir.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
Yeah, I had the pleasure of sitting in with Craig on his podcast recently, and we had a great conversation, so I wanted to bring him on. So, let's just get into it. Like I said, happy to have everybody here. Apple's here. Sets is here. Sets is my my gear junkie. He's actually the one that gave me the Roadcaster. So now I have an audio addiction on top of everything else.
Well, that Roadcaster is a pretty easy unit to use. I am not a tech guy, and I happen to have one and really like it.
Yeah, it's just one of those things that you see and you're like, oh, this is pretty cool. And you get one and you're like, oh no, this is way cooler than I expected.
Yeah.
So you been, sir?
I've been great.
Yeah.
I've been great. We finally got spring. I think I don't know if you saw the post on Instagram where I had a snow pile in my yard that just would not go away.
Yeah.
So I actually took the snowblower out and just spread it out all over the yard and just flung it all over, and that melted it in a couple of days. I think that was only 2 weeks ago.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, it's crazy because you think about, like here, it's, I don't know, I probably could have rode without a jacket today. It's in the 70s. It's really nice. But you forget the rest of the world's it's still pretty cold out there in the West. Actually,
I'm dead center of the country. Yeah.
So why don't you introduce yourself to everyone that may not know you?
Craig Johnson, Wild Ass Craig. I was given that name by actually the guy that owns the company we're doing our training portal on. I got that name actually on a podcast, the Dropping Bombs podcast. I don't know if anybody's heard it, but that's where I got it. Literally, we sat there and we changed my Instagram name right there on the spot. So that's pretty cool. But been riding since I was a kid, back in the 1900s, ridden everything from mini bikes to race motocross for a bunch of years, and finally got a Harley probably 12 years ago, and now have an adventure bike that I have to say I probably like a little bit more than the Harley. So as long as it's got two wheels, you can see right here, I have a scooter back there. I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah.
I even like those things. I'm a little far from Denver, so I can't ride to the coffee shops with him out in Seattle, but I do like riding my scooters.
We're 4 minutes in and we already flamed him. All right.
And Setzer Penance, he made a comment on my post here the other day. He is very observant. He spotted the center stand on my bike and asked if I had it. And I had to do a little digging. I couldn't remember the company that I got it from, but I don't know if you found it or not, but hopefully he did. Cool group of guys. We just don't see them at the shows anymore. So yeah,
it's funny you say that because that's what I've been looking for my Road Glide. I had one of those in my KLR, and you don't realize how handy they are until you had one, and you're like, man, this would be handy on a bigger bike.
And this one, now I remember, it's Wheeldock was the company that I got it from. And I think it's just wheeldock.com, and it's actually a ride off. So you don't have to pick the bike up to put it on the center stand. It's just kind of rolls back onto it. It's real easy. And when you jump on the bike and start it, take off, it flips up and away you go.
It's so funny you said that. No joke. I was actually having a conversation with them the other day. I was talking about.
Okay.
We'll have to catch up on that in a second. So what got you into riding? Was it a family thing or?
When I was a kid, Dad owned a car lot.
Okay.
And I'm assuming he traded in and put $0 into a Honda QA50. And he brought that thing home, and we had we got that, and then I suppose he traded in or got a one of the go-kart tracks in town ended up going out of business. I think this is back in the 80s. And in fact, I know it is back in the 80s, mid 80s actually. But he and one of his buddies, they ended up buying a couple of these go-karts.
Okay.
So we ended up with a go-kart and a little QA50. And I guess it's been downhill ever since. I mean, I absolutely love to ride motorcycle, and it's two wheels. I don't care what it is.
Yeah.
I'll ride any of it.
That's awesome. So,
Yeah.
so you were hooked pretty quick. So what was your first street bike?
Excuse me. My first street bike was a 1982 Yamaha Maxim 750.
Okay.
And it's kind of crazy. Dad brought home the mini bike when I was a kid. I think I was like 8 years old, and 8 or 10 or something like that. But he would not let me get a street bike because at the time he owned a towing service. Also, they had a car lot and a towing business kind of together. And he was the guy. Like, every time there was an accident, it was his company that went and got it within 15 or 20 miles of town. And he just saw too much of it, and he's like, nope, as long as you live under this roof, you're not going to get one. And I ended up, I think it was my first house. I moved out. No, I moved out once to set the world on fire. I had to come back home to get more matches. But then when I moved out again,
I've been there.
I ended up with the street bike, and that was the Yamaha. And I don't remember. I got it really cheap. I mean, it's kind of crappy. It had a big, ugly Vetter fairing on it. And I was able to locate all the parts. And, we didn't have, like, I think Craigslist might have been a thing.
Okay.
Back in the early 90s. I don't remember how I found the parts. I think it was a lot of calling to motorcycle salvage yards. But I was able to pull the Vetter fairing off there and put the stock headlight on it and make it look, cool again. And I really liked that bike. It was super fast. I mean, to me it was. I don't know, probably wasn't, but it was a good bike. And I have since very recently found a fully restored one that I'm like, oh, I should probably have that. But
very nice.
I'm not having that.
Yeah, I only have one, and I'm like, it's a good thing my trailer, because I don't have a garage. I'm like, good thing my trailer's the size it is, because you start seeing things like, oh, that'd be fun.
Yeah. Yep.
It's really easy to get that. So one of the things that I'm very curious about is, so what got you into doing what you do? Because it's sort of a niche market, right? It's a very specialized product, and I mean, it's an industry leader product that you produce, but what got you there? Like, how did you get to that point that you start that business?
Luck, really.
Okay.
In 2010, I remember it's 2010 vividly because my grandma, the old cranky grandma that's never going to die, right? So I owned a racetrack up to that point.
Oh, wow.
Friday night Supercross track. We had races every Friday night all summer long. I built a purpose-built facility, and it's just south of Brainerd here that, it was built just for Friday night races. It was a great place.
Oh,
so much fun.
Amazing.
But
I had no idea.
Yeah, it was kind of like everything was coming to an end, including my marriage. And like all of it just kind of came crashing in. Grandma died, got the divorce. I think my dog died. I mean, it was like one of those, just everything just
It was like a country western song.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it totally was. And like literally, I was living in a camper, and a friend of mine. So I had found a job in a factory, electronics factory here in town, and I was making like $7, $7.25 an hour or something, and I was just happy as hell because it gave me a reason to get out of bed, right? Take a shower. So it kind of gave me something to do again, and I was happy, And a buddy of mine calls, and actually, I mean, this is what I say as a good friend. He calls me out of the blue, and he's like, "Hey, Craig, you ready to come back to work?" And I said, "What? I have a job. What do you mean?" He goes, "No, I mean, come back to work. Like, get back into the business. Do what you love doing." And I said, "Well, what do you got?" And he said, "There's two things. One of them is was Airhawk, and the other one was a luggage company. And I said, let me think about it. Give me a few days and I'll decide. And at that point, I was kind of pissed off at the whole motorcycle industry because it kind of took everything from me, was my thought, was my belief at the time. And, I said, give me 3 days and I'll call you. So a few days go by and I'm like, it's not really the whole motorcycle industry, but I really, really loved riding dirt bikes. That was my thing. I loved racing, everything about it. And when that became no fun, then life kind of sucked.
Yeah.
So, well, maybe it's just the dirt bike side. So called him up. I said, yeah. I said, I think I'd like to talk about that seat thing. Luggage doesn't enthuse me. It doesn't really thrill me. The seat thing I know nothing about. So let's try it. I think it was within a month or something, I ended up with a job offer from Airhawk and I was back in the business. Well, that was owned by Roho, which is the medical company, the wheelchair company.
Okay.
That made all of the Airhawk stuff. And in 2015, that sold, and I was loving that job. Now we're talking 4.5 years later, and I was that's where I was gonna retire. Absolutely loved it, loved everything about it. All the people I worked with, my boss. I mean, everything about that job was fantastic. And when they sold the company in 2015, the guy that bought it, to make a long story short, basically said, "We don't need you. We're going to do this without you."
Oof.
I went, "Oh,
thanks."
Well, good luck. And again, I swore off the motorcycle industry. Like, nope, I'm done. That's got me twice. I'm out of here. But what am I going to do, right? So I went to sell cars, and probably 4 months, 5 months, my business partner, was coming up with this. He had this idea and he's like, man, I think we can do it. And I'm like, yeah, I guarantee you can do it. I said, and I have all the connections here and I'm happy to hand them over, but I don't want to do anything with it.
Okay.
But I'll help you get everything going. Like, I will do everything I can to help you out. And it came right down to the design, like, had everything dialed in. And he's like, no, I need you. And I said, I'm not really interested. I'm happy just to do what I'm doing and I will help you in every way I can, but I don't really want to do it. Right. This isn't making sense, is it?
Oh, no.
So, and the thing is we saw what we had been doing and how we were building up this product and what it was doing for people, for the riders, for everybody that was having any issues at all. So he said, no, Craig, I need you here. He goes, I'll tell you what, half the company, I need you. And I kind of went, huh. I still am not sure, but now we're talking, I guess. I mean, if you really want me that bad. And it ended up, everything worked out. And in 2019, I did the paperwork to buy him out completely 3 years later. So here I am with the company I didn't want in the beginning.
Isn't it weird how things like that work? Like, everyone's like, oh, you have this plan, and then somehow plan B or plan C becomes plan A and you're happier than you ever were.
And I am. I absolutely love it. And the coolest part about it is, well, there's a couple of cool things. When we're at events and people come up and tell us their story, I mean, sometimes it'll choke us up.
Yeah.
We have a girl, probably one of the most meaningful stories I've heard, in Sturgis, and you'll see her testimonial on my testimonials page on our YouTube channel. But she came up, and there's not a lot of detail. She's off at school, and I'm going to connect with her. And actually, that reminds me, I need to get her on a podcast to share her story, because it's absolutely phenomenal. Told you I'd need that notebook. So what she did is, she came up, and this was 1 year in Sturgis. She came up and we're like, nope, we promise you that this is going to help. Right. And she had to buy it on blind faith. So she did. we didn't, you don't think anything of it at the time. The next year in Sturgis, they came back to the booth. She came to find me and said, "Hey, just wanted you to know I bought this cushion and it did everything you said it was going to do. I absolutely love it. I can ride again. Thank you so much." I'm like, "Oh, that's really cool, Yeah, I didn't know the whole story, but I'm like, I appreciate the feedback. I love it. Would you do a testimonial? And that's how all the testimonials come. They come up, they say it, and I go, "Would you do it?" And then I grab my phone and go, boom, we're on.
Oh, that's
Right.
awesome.
And so we record this and we get all done. I'm like, "Thank you so much." And then her dad comes over and he says, "Hey, I got to tell you something." He said, she was in a motorcycle accident years back and she got hit on a dirt bike and I think it like crushed her hip or broke her pelvis. I mean, it was a dirty crash. And he said, and she could not ride. When she says she couldn't ride, she couldn't ride. And he said, "Our family, this is what we do. We get together as a family and we go on rides. We go trail rides, we go day rides, we do this stuff." And he said, "You really have given us that back because we could not do that." And I just was like, oh, like I think I did tear up and choke up. I'm like,
That's
"Oh my
awesome.
God, thank you so much." And we hear some really good stories at every event we go to. That's by far the best part of this is knowing that we're actually changing people's lives, which seems so cliche to say that because it just seems like everybody's out changing lives, but I get to live it. That's just the coolest thing. And today, that's the greatest thing. And then another really cool thing is today this guy walks into the shop. Now, to give you an idea of my shop, it's what you see on Wild Ass Wednesday live on Facebook. That's my office. Behind that wall, my dad has an office. He's a mason and he's a Shriner, and he does all their paperwork out of it. That's really all he does. And then there's a shop, like literally a garage, and that's where we do everything. So we'll set up folding tables and we'll put all the product together when we get it and we'll box it up, we'll ship it out, we'll fold all the tables up and we'll put it away, right? That way, if dad needs the shop, he can use it. If my brother needs a shop, if my uncle, anybody that needs the shop can come and use it. It's kind of like a community area, right? But it's fantastic because we don't need all that room all the time. We only need it when we are getting and shipping and receiving product, and we've gotten really fast at it. So today, everything's put away. Callie that works for me, she flew out to Myrtle Beach this morning. So she's down there and I'm in my office. Dad's in his office and somebody comes in. And now him being a Shriner, people are always coming and going. It's like a revolving door. I think it's hilarious because the Shriners do wonderful things. The Masons do epic things, but I call it the old guys cult, right? Because they're constantly just coming and going. They have their own stupid language, whatever. So this guy comes in and he's like, kind of like looking in like, is this Wild Ass? We're like, yeah. And I walk out and introduce myself. "Man, I was doing a bunch of research online and then I found out you're from right here in Brainerd." The guy lives about 7 miles from the shop. Him and his wife stopped by. They did a bunch of research, stopped by, didn't even ask questions, bought a couple cushions and left happy as can be. So that's pretty cool too.
That is
It's nice to hear. It's nice to hear when people are doing research and they're finding really good things, because it seems like the loudest voices are the bitchy ones, but I'm not seeing that as the case.
And I think the testimonial thing is great too, right? Because you can advertise all you want, but when you get it from real riders, because those are the people that speak the language. You can have all
Yeah.
the slick marketing you want. What is that lifestyle like? I mean, that's got to take a toll on you traveling as much as you do. I mean, I would assume obviously you enjoy it at some level, but that still has to take quite the toll.
Some levels an understatement. I absolutely love it.
Okay.
Absolutely. It does take a toll. Renee, my wife, she it's over the past few years, there's been a lot of it was a lot of travel, me gone.
Mm-hmm.
And then it kind of became, she was able to come with, and then she was able to come with more and more and more. And now, so she works in the medical field. She takes care of basically she takes care of an entire office, right? So she was taking care of an office where this one doctor was leaving, and when she was leaving, she was like, "Hey, I want you to come with." And she's like, "Yeah, I kind of get, I built up my time where I get to kind of go more, and if I'm going to come along, here's what I want. I want Myrtle Beach, I want both Daytonas, I want Sturgis," and and they're like, "Done." So she gets to come with quite a bit, so it's a lot less. It takes a lot smaller toll now. Is that the right way to say it?
Yeah.
So she gets to come with more, which makes it really nice.
Oh,
And
that's really cool.
yeah, and like I say now, um, Callie's a rock star. She's out on her own. I don't have, she can go do this event. So we're not at Myrtle Beach, but we're still covered there. So I get to stay home and I get to go, tomorrow I'm setting up a big shop not far from here. I get to ride the bike to go do it. But, the travel, absolutely love it. Our kids are all grown up. The dogs have passed away. So, it's the ties here are considerably less. And another nice thing is in Minnesota, when it's cold and shitty here, Daytona's coming, or Arizona Bike Week, we get to leave and go, go where it's warm. So
That's cool.
yeah.
Because I mean, I know too, when we had talked, you've met a lot of people that are big industry names. I mean, I assume that community with traveling the way they do sort of becomes its own family.
Oh, very
In
much
a
so.
sense, yeah.
Yeah.
That's really neat.
Yeah.
So
It's a lot of fun.
so Airhawk collapsed, right? Or got sold?
No,
No?
they're still in business. I don't ever, I don't see them anywhere.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't really talk about them either.
No. I'm sorry. Yeah, I guess I was just curious because yeah, anyway, name I hadn't heard in a while. That's all.
No, it's kind of cool because I know all of the faults, but I'm court ordered not to say them.
And that's fair. I mean, what is it? The best revenge is success. So,
Yeah.
you've achieved that. So, it is what it is.
Well, we're getting there.
That's awesome. So something I had talked to, you mentioned Denver earlier. So I see a lot of like the Hoka Hey guys and really the big mileage guys have picked up your product. That's I mean, I think that speaks volumes of people that are putting that kind of abuse on a product. I mean, those guys are no joke, and that's actually something
Yeah.
you had a chance to participate in, correct?
I did. So a couple things that are really, really cool about that is all those Hoka Hey guys, none of them got their first cushion free. And I had to change that because Hopper bought the wrong one. And I'm like, no, you need this one. And now he will tell you exactly why he needed the best cushion we offer. But all those guys, they bought their cushions. I didn't give them stuff. I didn't give them discounts on it. I mean, episode 1 of my podcast with Paco, that's the real story. Like he came up, wanted a deal, and I'm like, no, you should just buy one, and he did. And that's the way it's gone. And I've gotten to know a bunch of those guys, and it's really been an honor getting to know them. It's been really fun getting to know them, and getting to ride with them was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did get to take part in the 22.
So what was
which
that like for you? I
really
mean,
fun.
I mean, for those that don't know the Hoka, can you kind of explain it at a high level for folks?
Kind of, yeah. So, they're all at my desk. So the Hoka Hey, they take 200 people, I think is the max. And I'm not an official Hoka Hey spokesperson, but I think it's 200 people. You have to go through an interview process to make sure you're a viable candidate to ride this thing. It's basically about a 10,000 mile challenge. So for that 10,000 miles, you get turn by turn directions. So it's like at 70 miles, you're going to take a left on Highway 19. And when you go less than 10 miles, you're going to take a right on this road. I mean, that's all it was, line by line directions.
Wow.
You could use a paper map, no electronic navigation. Everything is tracked. So you got, every bike had a tracker. In fact, mine still has it. I just leave it on there now. But so they, at the end, follow, it tracks your course. So then they lay down the template, basically, from what I understand. And that, as long as you stayed on the course the whole way, then you finished. If you deviate or miss part of the course, and I think it's like 1 mile, you're disqualified.
Oh,
You're,
I didn't
you
realize
don't,
that's strict. Jeez.
yeah, you're not a finisher. If you get a speeding ticket, you're disqualified. And then apparently there was a speed rule where if you got pinged, they were going to send you a warning and then another warning. And then after 3, you were disqualified. But I don't believe that happened at all.
Okay.
You have to sleep outside. You can't sleep indoors. So you stay outside with your motorcycle. You can bring a tent. Basically whatever you can haul is what you can sleep on. You can't use a trailer. I don't think you can use a sidecar either. I don't know that.
Oh.
But so basically it's on your motorcycle. You have to be on an American-made motorcycle. So an Indian, Harley, a Buell. What else is there? The Victory. That's the same as a
Rip
same
Victory.
as an Indian,
I
I
love
believe.
those.
Yeah. You know what I mean? So has to be on an American motorcycle. I'm sure. Oh, and you cannot carry extra fuel,
Okay.
which is a worry point in all of it
Sure.
in itself. But the route last year started at Black Hills Harley Davidson in Rapid City. It kind of went all around the West. So I mean, like on day 2, we were running the Canadian border. Day 5 or 6, we were running the Mexican border in Arizona. And then day 8, 9, 10, somewhere in there, we were running the Pacific coast up through Oregon. And then it ended at Hill City, an hour and a half away. But we had to go 10,293 miles for me to get there.
And that was 10,000 miles in how many days?
The finish line parties is 14 days.
Okay.
So yeah,
That's
I
big
made
miles.
it back on a 2001 Road King in 11 days, 9 hours.
Wow.
So
That's impressive.
yeah.
That's
Oh,
no
so
joke.
I see Seth's repentance is saying he was there with Denver. So then I have met you in person then. I was trying to think if I had, and I couldn't remember, but
Yeah, he puts
a little
down
bit of
some
a-
big miles too.
yeah.
That's
I had
really
my race brain on that day. That whole weekend I was kind of focused on the task at hand, I guess. So I don't remember meeting a bunch of people. So
that's
but yeah,
awesome.
that's the Hoka Hey. That was pretty cool. And of course, right before, I walked all the way to the starting. I was all the way at the back, at the start because a high number, new rider. So I walked all the way up to the start, basically gave the wife a kiss and said goodbye. And on my way back, I was kind of counting how many seat cushions it was. And I think we were at like 30% of the Hoka Hey guys were running my cushion, which is pretty cool.
That
was at the start. I know more are running it now.
That is awesome. I mean, and that's
Yeah.
that's a tribute to your product too. That's really cool. So
Yeah.
what was that experience like? I mean, were you prepared for that, or is that just sort of one of those things you just got to dig in and do?
I was prepared. I was really surprisingly prepared. I had everything figured out on the bike. I had 2 great mentors. I had Paco. I don't know if you know him or if you know who he is.
I know the name vaguely.
Yep, he's run it multiple times. And then Riot, I'm sure you know who he is.
He's actually
between
in Jersey, yeah.
Yeah, so between the 2 of those guys, they had, I had 2 really good mentors, and then Hopper, I got a lot of good advice out of him, and it was I was as prepared as I could be. I felt going in, and I felt good all the way through. I really did.
That's really cool. So what did you so you had the Road King. So did you have to make any preparations to the bike? I mean, so what is I would think you'd have did you modify it? Is it pretty stock?
It's got it's got a little magic in the engine, but it's it's not fast. None of them are. It's got 16-inch handlebars on it. And then I used a Clockworks windshield.
Okay.
Because they just work, and then I'm looking at it as what I'm looking at to see what I've changed. Really nothing. I mean, it's our show bike when we go to events. It's the bike that we use in our booth.
Oh,
And that was
that's
kind of one of the things. I'm like, no, I just want to ride this old shitbox and finish it. Yeah, I mean, really, all I have is a cushion, and if you push down on the seat, it's to the frame. My buddy runs all of production at La Pera, so it's a one-off, super low seat. I actually locally, I love the seat, like riding around. But for that event, you're going to need
yeah.
something. But it's got a one-off seat on it, and all I had was my cushion. And then it doesn't have a backrest,
Okay.
but I had my bag flipped around behind me, so that was my backrest, and all my camping gear was on the rack behind it. Otherwise, no. We Custom Dynamics, when they heard I was going to do it, they put all new lighting in it for me. I didn't even ask them. That's crazy. They came. One of the guys, same thing. The
Yeah.
road family, right? They're like, "Hey, I hear you're doing this." I'm like, "Well, I'm going to try." Like, well, we need to get your bike from you because we're going to make sure you can see.
That's
So, and
awesome.
man, did that make a difference. I mean, you run their stuff,
Mhm.
it's just unreal how bright it is. And it's not like obnoxious bright, right? It's not so bright that your eyes hurt looking down the road, because I've ridden with those people
Yeah.
too, but it's just right where your eyes don't hurt and you can see everything off in the distance, off in the shoulders. I can't believe how well it works.
Yeah, the thing that's always impressed me with their lighting is the white is so pure. It's not that like crazy, it's that intense white, but it's that pure white. It doesn't have
Hmm.
that discoloration like that the Harley lights have.
Yeah.
Yeah, they make really good stuff. That's cool that they did that for you. I didn't realize that. That's really
Yeah, and I'm just drawing a mind blank, but the kid, he comes up and he's like, "Man, I've had 2 friends do it and they both died." I'm like, "Well, let's hope I'm not the third." He's like, "Oh
thanks for
yeah,
the
wait, I shouldn't have
encouragement.
said that." And then of course after it was over, um, the next time I saw him, I think was Sturgis, because then it got done in July, I think. Yeah, early July. So I saw him in Sturgis and I walked up to his booth and I'm like, "Hey man, one that survived now?" And he's like, "Yeah."
Oh, that's
It was
awesome.
pretty funny. Yeah.
I always thought it was funny with that is it amazes me how many people will come up to you and be like, "Oh, I hit a bike and then, I ran it off a cliff or, I hit a goat and I almost died." And it's like, no, nobody says, I was married once and it sucked. Well, I mean, yes, people do. It's like it's just it's weird. I feel like you either have the passion for it or you're so petrified you have to tell everyone that has a bike that story, that crazy
Yeah.
one-off story.
Yeah.
It's funny. I mean, that's quite an achievement. That's really cool to
Thanks.
do
Yeah.
that.
It was absolutely phenomenal. Absolutely loved it. I just I'm a guy, I love to ride motorcycle. Like I said, I don't care what I'm riding. As long as I'm riding, I'm happy. And um since starting the company, I really haven't had a vacation.
Mhm.
So for that 11 days, um, it was really an unplug for me. I got to do a lot of soul searching. I got to, just be with myself. I mean, we weren't supposed to have helmet communicators, but I'm like, hey, I kind of have a company to run here. But I never answered phones. Like if it would ring, you could see it up on the bar and I'd hit it to go to voicemail, and then I'd play the message, and then I would forward the message to Callie back at the shop, and then she took care of it. So
That's awesome.
that was really my only interaction with work. I had to check in with my dad every day. That was part of his deal, and then with Renee also, I had to check in with her.
That's
But yeah,
awesome.
other than I mean, I just got to ride. I mean, and I absolutely loved it. And I didn't see half the shit that we went by because I was riding. And
Yeah.
I'm not a guy. I don't like to go see a lot of sights by myself because I think those are experiences that I would rather share.
Mhm.
So we rode through some badass stuff, and I just was like, didn't really realize it until I was talking to others afterwards where we were.
That's funny. Well, and I think that's the first big road trip I did. I think was the first year I rode. Well, when I say big, I mean it was only an overnight, but at that point that was huge for me. Um, and yeah, I had no comm, I had no radio, I had nothing. And being alone in your helmet's a wonderful place.
Yeah.
It's cool to have music and it's cool that you can make phone calls and have nav, but just being alone in your head is just, it's very therapeutic.
Yeah.
It's great that you
I
get to
really,
disconnect like that.
really enjoyed it. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. So this is your first Harley, you said, or you've had multiple?
No, this is the first. Yeah. First
Nice.
one. I mean, I borrowed one for my endorsement test. I took it on a 1200 Sportster. Um, but yeah, I've ridden. My dad's had a couple now, of course, now that he's out of the towing business, he's got one. So I've ridden them, but yeah, this is the first one.
So why the Road King?
I got a deal on it.
There you go.
Yeah, I mean that's it. That's the truth. I didn't buy a Harley because I'm a chest thumping, oh, Harley. I give two shits less about what you
Yeah.
ride as long as you're out there. But I got a deal on it, and it was affordable and it worked out. I mean, that was one of my dad's buddies bought it brand new, so we've known the bike since it was brand new, and I own it today, and I love it.
That's awesome. I always tell people that's how I became I'm the reluctant Harley rider. I never wanted to own one. I will honestly tell you, I used to talk smack about Harley riders all the time. And my wife started having back issues, and we took an Ultra out, and we're in the showroom, and she looks at me and she's like, I'm not even going to understand that I'm telling you this. She's like, we're buying this bike. And I'm like, wait, what? Like, we're buying a what? But yeah, I mean, it's cool. And I'm the same way. I mean, that was the only, well, I've had two now, but yeah, it's when you ride what you ride. I think it's, what fits you. But yeah, I always joke. My wife was always, she was the same way. And I'm like, 2 days later, I turn around, she has a Harley fleece on. I'm like, wow, you sold out quick.
Wow. Yeah. I said I won't replace it until it has 100,000 miles on it. And I can tell you those 11 days, 9 hours, I got more miles on it more miles on that time period than I have every motorcycle I've owned combined since I started Wild Ass.
That's
impressive. I mean, we don't get to ride, we're busy working. So that's my goal for this year is I got to spend more time. That took a lot out of the summer last year because, we're going, like, I think the weekend before the Hoka, hey, we were at the BMW rally. So it was race home, get everything unloaded, get the Harley ready, head out to Rapid City. And that ended and we got home. The party was Saturday. We drove home Sunday. The next weekend, I was back in the Black Hills for another event. So I really didn't even get caught up on sleep for like 2 weeks afterwards. But no, so the Harley, I always said my next one won't be a Harley. And I won't replace. I probably will never get rid of this one now because we've grown awfully fond of each other.
Mm-hmm.
But if I were to get another Harley, I would have to say it'd probably be a Road Glide.
Nice.
But before that, I think I'll probably get a Goldwing.
Okay. Goldwing's become a very popular bike.
And I won't put pipes on it because, man, my ears were ringing for weeks after.
Oh, I bet.
I did a quick rip from here down to Kansas on Thursday, and my ears were ringing so bad when I got there. And then I came back Friday, and my ears, I mean, they rang for 2 days.
What pipes you're on?
Reinhardt's.
Okay. Yeah. The pipes are a weird thing because it's like you said, it's really cool when you're ripping around and then you go on a long ride. And you're like, maybe I should have rethought this.
Yeah. Well, and this bike's a 5-speed, so it tends to run pretty high RPMs.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just screaming in your ears. And here Minnesota's not a helmet state.
Okay.
So never wore it. But that was part of the deal is with the Hoka, hey, I'll wear one. And I don't think people understand how much louder your bike is when you wear a helmet than when you don't. I mean, it's crazy loud.
Yeah.
So now I'm just trying to get in the habit of wearing it all the time because I might as well.
Yeah. I've been trying to get in the habit of wearing earplugs because the newer bikes are a lot louder, and it's annoying because if you commute to work, it's not that long of a ride, so you feel like it's just that
right
thing, but it does make a difference, especially if you're on it. If you're on it hard, it makes a significant difference.
Yeah.
That's I don't know. I kind of waffle back and forth with the helmet thing. I mean, I totally get it. You know what I mean? Because I've always worn a helmet, but I can understand, the few times that I haven't, I'm like, it's kind of cool. But then I'm always like, well, is this smart? It's always a balance. So when you started Wild Ass and you had that moment and you're sort of, I guess, the reluctant entrepreneur, if you will, what was the lesson from that? I mean, for somebody that wants to start their own business and have that experience, what would you tell that person?
Oh, that's a good question. So I've always been entrepreneurial because, I owned that racetrack before. Like
Mhm.
right out of high school, I was racing dirt bikes and I started a little t-shirt stand, that I brought to the races to sell t-shirts to buy gas so I could race and pay my entry fees. And I've kind of always been that way. Um, you know, to have your own company, you need to be prepared to not have riches, fame, and fortune.
Mhm.
You need to just live with bare minimum. I think that's really the way it is. And if you want to get into something to make money, work for somebody else, um, and be an entrepreneur. When I was selling cars, that little period of time there, yeah, that was my own. My desk was my own company.
Mhm.
I was selling that guy's stuff, but I was making a killing. If you want to start your own business, be prepared to be broke. Um, that's really the best way to do it. People get into it. You better really, really love it because it's all you're going to have for
Yeah.
a long time, and none of the perks that come with it for a long time. We got sued right off the bat,
Oh,
which, yep, that put us, you know, I think we're still seeing effects of that. In fact, I know we are, but it put us 3 to 5 years ahead or behind immediately.
wow.
So now we're playing 3 to 5 years of catch up with no budget. You know what I mean? So
That's a
it
lot.
was,
Damn.
yeah, it was cool. But and then being able to have employees, if you want to start a business that's going to have employees, keep in mind you're responsible for them.
Yeah.
You know, um, I there's been a lot of times where I've had to drive Lyft to make sure I was able to pay Callie,
Wow.
or do random things just to pay her, and I only have one employee. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, but now, like, she bought herself a brand new car. I think I was more excited than anything because I'm like, hell yeah! Wait, I got to keep working because it's my job to make sure she keeps working, so now she can pay for her new car.
Yeah. Oh,
But
that's
that's something I think people don't realize too. I mean, you're responsible for everything and everybody underneath you at that point, and
that
not a lot of people, I don't think, can take that.
it's a lot of responsibility for sure. I mean,
You know,
there's no plan B, I suppose, at that point.
not for me.
Yeah. That's just, yeah. I think it's like anything, right? It always looks better in the rearview mirror. It sounds like a really good
Yeah,
idea until you do it.
yeah. I don't regret it, and I wouldn't change a thing. It's phenomenal. I'm still living broke and loving life.
I mean, we should all be so happy, right? And there's many
Right.
people that go in and punch a
Yeah.
clock and they're frustrated with life and hate life, and
Right.
it's really cool.
Yeah.
So so you came out of the box with this. So as you started Wild Ass, I mean, how did your product line develop? How many pieces of product did you have at that point when you first launched?
When we first launched, we had
Okay.
nine pieces, nine shapes. We had a bit of an advantage because I kind of knew what was working.
Hmm.
I knew what worked. I knew what needed to be changed. I knew where improvements could be made. All of this going in. And, I had already been in the field for 5 years, doing 4.5 years,
Hmm.
talking with customers, talking with retailers, talking with distributors. I had a pretty good idea of what was working and what needed to be fixed. So I had a huge advantage when I started. Nine part numbers, nine pieces. It was only three shapes. Gave us a huge advantage because it's a lot less for people to know when they want to carry your product. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it does.
So,
'Cause it's not as sometimes I think if you're very narrow in your scope there, it's a lot easier than it's to be diversified like crazy.
right. And we've since added a shape. So now we have 4 shapes, 3 part numbers, or 3 materials of each shape. So we're up to, 12 cushions. And then you add, I think we have a half a dozen t-shirts. We have a motorcycle half cover. We have, the trinkety stuff also now. We didn't have any of that in the beginning.
I mean, swag's always good, right?
Yeah.
So Jason had a good question. So what made you come up with the name?
Scott, my partner, came up with that. Even that I was a little hesitant on until we talked it through. And it's really nothing more than a play on words. That's all it is. Have you ever talked to anybody in any place, anywhere, that does not like the movie Wild Hogs?
No.
No. I mean,
Great
seriously,
movie.
nobody watches that movie and doesn't like it. I've never met somebody. So it kind of starts there. Everybody thinks motorcycle people are these wild and crazy people, right? Most of the time they're assholes, right? That's what people think. And once you're in, you know that that's absolutely not true. We're an ass product. I mean, it's just kind of like,
It works.
you can spin it so many different ways, and it's just hilarious. And then if you go back in the lineage or the ancestry of donkeys, our logo is actually the African wild ass.
Oh, that's
It's
interesting.
no longer in existence, but it is the mother of all.
Okay.
So it is as far back as you can go, that is the African wild ass. That's our logo.
That's really cool.
Right down to the fletching on the legs, the whole deal is, there's a whole ton of thought into it. And it's so fun posting these articles. I don't know if you've seen them on the Wild Ass page, but do you know, random thing, did you know that an asshole is actually a thing? And it's no part of the human anatomy?
Go on. I'm interested in
You know what? Let's give it a few seconds, and anybody that can comment what an asshole is, give them like a minute.
Okay.
Let's check my time. I will give you one of our hats as soon as they become available, which they're in prototype form, and I'll get mine next week.
All right. They're Googling away right now.
Yeah, everybody's Googling. And what's funny is they probably won't find it. You got to really find it. So we're a product that literally, like I said, it changes lives, which is great, right?
All right, DeBeard, that was just inappropriate. And he said I'm an asshole.
Yeah, not that kind of asshole. Sorry, man. But very funny. Are we at a minute?
No, not yet.
Okay. So being a product that's, saving the world, right? This makes it even more fitting. But I posted an article about this on our Facebook page. And have we killed a minute yet?
Yeah, we're close.
A sphincter. No, that's a muscle.
Donkey.
Nope.
Oh, Seth's coming out with a watering hole for donkeys.
Okay, he's close.
Okay, a newborn donkey.
Close. But in a desert, are we at a minute?
Yeah. Wait, we got one more. So it's a hole a donkeys dig to take a nap in.
Nope. So what an asshole is, in the desert, a donkey will find water. And they will dig a hole, right?
Okay.
And they will dig down to the water. That hole will then hydrate animals, like all kinds of animals will come and drink out of that hole. So I would say Seth's wins. But that's actually what it is. I posted an article about it on our Facebook page. It's really, really interesting. See, so even back in ancient history, we were saving lives.
There you go. That's really
so I will find all these random donkey articles and I'll post them. It's so much fun.
I think it's cool too. I love the fact, like we were talking earlier with doing the testimonials. I think that's the one thing that really connects with the rider community is, actual people talking. And I mean, I would think that testimonial, especially going to all the rallies, has to be never ending. I mean, there's so many people, that do that for you. I think that's really cool.
Yeah. I'm writing down sets or pendants for a hat here quick before I forget.
He's
told you.
He's a fellow entrepreneur like you. He's all in. He has no halfway. He just goes 9,000% anything. I respect
That's
that.
good. Yeah, that deserves a ton of respect.
Yeah.
So the testimonials, you say I have a lot of them. The one, like, you can only schedule out 75 days on Facebook. I don't know if you knew
Mhm.
that. So as I scroll through my phone, I will post them. The testimonials that are posting right now are from, I believe, spring of 21. That's how far behind I am on
Wow.
posting them. So we get them, and it's just that way. Somebody will come up and they'll be like, "Man, I got one from you in Daytona, and I wrote it up here, and I absolutely love it." And I'll be like, "Great, would you say it on camera?" And if they say, "Well, sure," like before they can even hesitate, I'll be like, "Oh, great, what's your name? Where are you from?" And I'll have my phone in my hand, and I'll hit it to go live, and then I'll be, "All right, great, we're standing here in Daytona with Bry from, New Jersey, and he's got a story to share." And then it'll be like just like that. Like before they can even have an opportunity to get nervous, they're talking.
Oh, that's
And
really
I don't
cool.
that's really the only time I ask. I don't say, "Hey man, I know you bought one. Can I get you to say a testimonial?" Because I just think that's cheesy.
Yeah.
So it's pretty fun. Sometimes, I don't post all of them. I've had people say, "Oh, we've had competition," and they'll say the name and they'll badmouth it, and then they'll talk about ours. And I don't post those. I just think it's better not to.
Well, yeah, and it's never a win, right? It's never a
Right.
win because you're giving your competition free airtime, and it's never a win to go negative.
Yeah.
No, not at
Yep.
all.
So yeah, testimonials are awesome. I really appreciate them. I love all the people coming to say, hi at the tent. So many people come up and say hi just for being there. Like, hey, just wanted to say hi. I see your show.
That's awesome. Hey,
It's
Mrs.
really fun.
Monkey. This is our formal greeting. The hey girl, hey, Mrs. Monkey's awesome. That's really cool. I mean, so and you've got yeah. I mean, so actually, as we're getting close to the hour, but talk about your podcast. I mean, your podcast has done really well, and you've had some big name folks on it. What got you into that? Now you had a podcast before that, though, right? A local podcast.
Yeah, so I had a podcast for where I live. Basically, it was northern Minnesota only. I only talked to northern Minnesota businesses, and we just talked about what where I live. This area is where people come for vacation.
Okay,
So it's not like, if I talk to you, you'd say, "God, there's no way in hell I'd come to Minnesota. It's too cold all year." Right?
fair
But
enough.
everybody comes here for vacation. So there's probably a reason why they're coming here. And it's hard to open businesses if they're going to be seasonal, which most of them are. So, it's basically what got you here? Why are you still here? What's keeping you here? Why haven't you left? One of those kind of things, kind of trying to
Sure.
help everybody, help each other. We all work together, and rising tide lifts all ships, right? So that was my logic there. It's hard to find guests because being rural, a lot
Yeah.
of people are like, "Podcast? Ooh, I don't know what that is. I just got dial up." So we um so then I really kind of liked doing it, the podcast. It was fun. And I went down and I kind of was toying with the idea of starting another podcast, but more industry based. And I think it was after Hopper's 100,000 mile ride, we were at his party. We drove down to see it, and Renee and I were down there. We're hanging out with all these long distance riders, and they were sharing their stories. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to do it. I meet the coolest freaking people. I have so many friends. We have so many stories that are not going to get told. I want these stories out there. I'm the luckiest guy alive to know all of these people, to get to hang out with all these people. I want to share this. And everybody needs to realize how cool these people are and how great these stories are. Because my goal in life is to be that old guy that's just got endless stories. Anything that happens, I want to have a story. Like, "Oh man, I remember this time I was riding my motorcycle and, this happened." That's my goal. I want to be the old guy with a shit ton of stories. And
cool.
and that was kind of the whole reason for the podcast. So we were down there at Hopper's party, and I'm like, you know what? I'm doing it. I'm starting it. And when we were driving home, Renee and I were sitting there, and we had a notebook and just a list of like, we could have this guy, we could have that guy, we could have this guy, we could have that guy. And every single one of them I've called has said, absolutely, absolutely, I'd love to come on. So yeah, we had some pretty cool names on there. There's some more pretty cool names coming that, like we talked about earlier, I just need to get back after it. It's not a moneymaker, and they take a lot of time. You know, I say for every 15 minutes of podcast you listen to, I probably have 45 minutes. I think it's 5 is 40. I don't remember. It's ridiculous amount of time. Every 15 minutes is like 45 minutes to an hour worth of work.
Well, yeah, and I don't think with any of that, even video and all that, people don't realize that how long that 10, 15 minutes actually is. You know, it seems like, oh, it's easy, it's a 10-minute video. Okay, but it's not. You know, the end and the beginning of that alone is a lot of work, let alone the production of it. Yeah. That's cool. So, I mean, so what would be next? I mean, is that, how long do you still want to continue that, doing it weekly, or are you going to take a break?
So the idea behind the podcast is every other week.
Okay.
You will start hearing them weekly again until I'm caught up.
Okay.
Once I'm caught up, then it's going to go back to every other week. Because now we're ready to hit the road.
Yeah.
End of this month.
Coming up.
The end of this month, we hit the road again, and it's like for 3 weeks we're on the road. We come back for a week. I'm gone for a week. I'm home for a week, and I'm gone for 3 weeks. You know, and then it's fall.
Yeah.
We're out of summer.
Yeah. I mean, it goes quick. It certainly goes quick.
Yeah.
And you bring all your product, or do you ship it? Do you bring it with you, or do you ship?
It depends. It depends on the event. So Myrtle Beach, that's all J&P Cycles product.
Okay.
So literally, Callie flew there. She's going to sell their stuff. Daytona, we sell J&P product. We haul it. And then they buy it, and then we sell it. But it comes with us. Same with Sturgis. We're selling it through Black Hills Harley and through J&P Cycles. We have 2 locations there. We go to Americade, which is in Lake George, New York.
Mm-hmm.
That's Memorial Day weekend. We bring our own product. And then we go from there to the BMW rally, where we bring our own product there as well. So at those 2 events, we also sell Nelson Rig.
Okay.
I don't know if you're familiar with Nelson Rig and the rig gear products. We team up with them, and we do both of those events with them.
Oh, nice.
So, and we sell everything there.
Where's the BMW rally? Is it still in New York?
Not this year. So it rotates. So we go to the MOA rally, which is their big one. So it's always East, Central, West, Central, East. This year it's East, and we're going to Doswell, Virginia. So I think that's near Richmond.
Okay.
Is that right? Where Secretariat was born.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
So any horse fans, even if you're not a horse fan, you've heard of Secretariat. Where he was born is where we're going to be at the BMW rally. It's like the first weekend of June, I think. I can't remember. I just know we'll be there. We leave here.
All blur at that point.
We leave here the end of the month, and Memorial Day weekend is Americade in Lake George, New York. Beautiful rally, beautiful place. Canadians come down. They hate their money. They literally throw it at you. It's great. And then we go down to Virginia, and the BMW rally is phenomenal as well.
Oh, that's awesome.
So it's the following weekend. I know that. So I think we check in on Monday the 5th, if that's a Monday. So it's that next weekend is the BMW rally. And all bikes are welcome. You don't have to be a BMW rider.
Okay. Very cool. So you had mentioned in the beginning, I didn't even get a chance to tell you said you had an ADV bike. What do you ride?
I have a BMW GS 850.
Oh, very nice.
I got the Adventure. What you after? Renee's in here to say hi. You might as well come and say hi. This is Bride the Biker.
Hey.
So I have it's a GS 850.
Nice.
When the ad came out, I brought the picture home and Renee said no, but it was in wild ass colors. It was the bike that I never knew I always wanted.
There you go.
So
I
that's
always
what I ended
wanted
up with.
I always wanted the 1200 adventure, strictly
Yep.
based on the long way around. Even I know the 1250 is a better bike, but I always wanted the 1200.
Yeah.
That's just a phenomenal bike.
Yeah. The reason I got the 850, no lie, is because it's easier to pick up.
And that's fair.
But that was a mistake. It's not easier to pick up. The 1250 is easier because it only falls to the heads. So 45 degrees.
Oh, it doesn't go over. Yeah.
Right. It doesn't go all the way over.
That's the adventure bikes are awesome. I forgot about that. Yeah, because my KOR sat so high and the weight was up so high. It was a pain in the ass to get off the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And you inevitably with an adventure bike, you're dropping it. It's just a given. It's just you don't even worry about it at that point.
Yep. A lot.
That's awesome. So
that was the whole point of it. Is that's what it's for.
Yeah. When I had my KOR, somebody's like, you realize your crash bars are beat up. I'm like, that's what they're for. They're crash bars for a reason.
They're not called riding bars.
Exactly. So as we wrap up, I'll give you the last word, sir. Let you close it out. How would you like to end this? What would you like to say?
Man, you know what I always say is you're probably not going to die.
Okay.
So just try it. I mean, I live by my life by that motto. Like, well, I'm probably not going to die.
There you go.
So that's what I live my life by. And if you think of that, you kind of will try anything within reason.
I mean, I think there's a lot of people. That's how they learn to ride. That's how I did. And got the bike.
Yeah.
And, you go out on the road and you're like, oh, this is only going to end one of two ways. Why not do it?
And I'm probably not going to die.
Yeah. And if you die, it's a good story. No one wants to, if I'm going to go, might as well go out with a good story. No one wants to be like, what happened to Bri? I don't know. We just didn't wake up today. It's just not a good story.
That happens.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I mean, if anybody's coming to events, we're at most of them. I'm at most of them. Please stop and say hi. Just check in with us. Say, hey man, I just wanted to stop, say hi, introduce yourself. I'll do my best to remember names. I'm not always great because there's, I guess, just too much going on, which sucks. I need to get better at that because I hear that can be perceived as a sign of I don't care, but that's very much not the case. If you're going to Myrtle Beach this week, stop by and see Callie. Just say hi. Have her give you a rundown of the product, but be warned, you're going to leave with one. She's good.
Yeah. Baggers and Brews is going to be there. DeBeard and George are going to be there from Baggers and Brews, I believe.
Yeah.
That's cool.
She'll be up at Barefoot Landing. And then, come to Americade, come to the BMW rally, come to Sturgis, find us. You can't miss us. Black and yellow tents everywhere. Follow me, Wild Ass Craig. Try to always post something, usually pretty random.
That's awesome.
So
awesome. Well, Craig, I really appreciate your time. It's great talking to you.
I'm glad you had me. Thanks.
Absolutely.
Thanks for having me on.
Do we end with a Seattle joke? Because I kind of feel like we need to.
Well, like I said, I'm selling my scooter, so I can't ride to Starbucks of Denver. But
are you? Come on, you're selling it to Denver. You know you are.
I'm not supposed to announce that here.
Oh, sorry, I gave it away. Okay. Denver, we love you. I mean, kind of. But that's a joke that can never die, ever. And he's coming out to Sturgis, right?
He's coming to Sturgis. We're putting him to work. He's going to hang out with us for a week. That'd be a good interview afterwards to get with him
and hear what
following Wednesday before he has any chance to recover. Because he's coming out. He's going to work every day. And what's funny is we work 8 to 8.
Oof.
Every single day, and it will literally beat the hell out of him and his wife. He's bringing her too.
Oh man!
But when they leave, they'll be like, "Man, I want to do that again." Yeah. So then they're riding back home. So you'll have to get them on after, like that Wednesday after, and be like, "Man, how you doing?"
Yeah, I would love to hear his perspective because that's going to be his first time at Sturgis too, I believe. Yeah,
I think so. Yeah.
I'll have to talk to you off air. We'll have to come up with some sort of contest. The first person that comes up with a Seattle joke to him, that would be worth it. I'd put money
at the rally.
Yeah, we gotta make it like some sort of bounty. I think it'd be fun.
All you got to do is walk up to him when it's 110 degrees out on that parking lot and you see him sweating and go, well, man, you ain't in Seattle anymore, are you? It's not raining and it's hot as hell.
Poor guy. Well, Craig, thanks so
People
much
here
for
carry
hanging out.
guns and have a good time.
Yeah, right. Well, guys, thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight. Next week, we're going to have Dustin from the Five Dirty Bikers talking about their charity build for autism. I'm really excited about that as well. Be a good time. So we will see everybody next Wednesday. Craig, thanks so much for hanging out, and hang on for a minute. I want to catch up. I have some questions. So, guys, thank you so much.
Everybody for watching too.
Yep. Thanks, guys. Talk to you soon.